I'm Dr. Mark Trexler. The illegal wildlife trade was already being characterized as an emergency 34 years ago when I was at UC Berkeley and wrote the first dissertation evaluating the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. 34 years later, it's still an emergency, and Measure 100 on the Oregon ballot wants to help. The illegal wildlife trade and the problem of climate change that I focused on for the last 30 years in my career are so-called wicked problems. It's not surprising that we often embrace symbolic responses to wicked problems. Symbolism is cheap, easy, and it makes us feel good. But it doesn't do much to address the underlying problem. We already have several federal laws that target the international wildlife trade. And indeed, it's already illegal to trade in the wildlife products that Measure 100 is really targeting. But federal wildlife trade control efforts lack the necessary budgets and enforcement, and even when discovered, violations are under-penalized. Measure 100 wants Oregon to do its part to protect endangered species by adding a layer of state law to the existing federal laws. Measure 100 looks very likely to pass, but I've seen no evidence that it will translate into endangered species being better off. In fact, Measure 100 will likely be underfunded, under-enforced, and primarily symbolic. Go ahead and vote for Measure 100, but if you think you're doing your part for endangered species, think again. If you're really concerned about problems like endangered species and climate change, find things to do and support that are more than symbolism. There's so much symbolism littering the environmental landscape that it's not easy, but otherwise we'll still be wringing our hands over the illegal wildlife trade 34 years from today. Although by then we'll probably be much more concerned about the impacts of climate change, including on endangered species and biodiversity. Climate change is the ultimate wicked problem, and the siren call of symbolism is enticing indeed. #BeyondSymbolism. If you're interested in my work on climate change, you can find it at theclimateweb.org, as shown in this slide. I'd also love to hear from you. I've left contact information in the slide. Thanks a lot.